But anyways, this thing is it's pretty crazy. Now check this out. Space-based radar detected this some 270 to 280 million miles away. Pretty far away. Again, first seen in 2001. February 8th, again, they started taking or February 2008, they started taking a closer look at it because of the proximity. Now, on August 13th of this year, 2013, they got another look at it, and this was from the space-based radar out there. This is some interesting footage, folks. Now, listen closely. August 13th, 2013, two cigar-shaped objects can clearly be seen on each side of the comet. The comet is approximated to be about 3.1 miles across, so it's pretty big. Now, those of you who want to open another window on your computer or something, go ahead and do so. You can watch this footage. It's pretty interesting. Now, if this comet, this ISON, is 3.1 million miles across, these two objects are probably about 1,000 feet in length. Now, they're being referred to as cigar-shaped, but I'm not totally sold on that, and I'll tell you why, because you're seeing it from one angle. If you're looking at something that is disc-shaped from the side, it's going to look cigar-shaped.
Have that appearance, yeah.
Right, until it turns or something. But this is some very compelling footage. Again, I don't know if it's totally authentic. The person who supplied this footage and put it on the internet checked the JPL site, and he said it shows up there. So, I mean, that's pretty convincing right there.
Right.
If it's on like a NASA live feed, that's significant. So what you see is when you click play, you see this object, the comet, rotate. You can see the vapor trail behind it. It's giving off water and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. These objects are on the side of it. Well, one goes behind it, and another one pulls up in front of it. So, I mean, okay, if this was fake, of course it could be. But if it was faked, it was so well done. I mean, you know more about this stuff than I do. I mean, it's pixelated, right?
Well, you said this is off of the NASA website, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
You will find it in the JPL site, but you will not find it on NASA's site. This was from a private individual.
Okay.
And it's really good stuff. Now, again, it's kind of pixelated as you're used to. It's not the type of video that you'll see like the live feed you see from the space shuttle that's orbiting Earth. That's pretty clear.
Right.
It's black and white, but it's pretty clear. This is like a deep space photograph or video. So it's pixelated. But again, these craft move around it, and they play with the shadows too. So if somebody did this, I would think that the objects surrounding this comet would change in length and in thickness. Does that make sense to you? I mean, you know this type of stuff. You're kind of the expert on this videography type stuff. I mean, wouldn't it change? Or because it's very consistent.
Well, it just depends on the angle. I mean, is the camera stationary?
Well, yeah, it's a radar video, basically.
So, I mean, I haven't seen the footage, so I once I see it, then I can make a better assessment. But, yeah, I mean, it just depends on the angle of the object and its trajectory, But but I can see a lot of confusion, just because something's long, in a
Sorry, I was trying not to go there. I couldn't help it. We like the jest in the rabbit hole, yo. So, anyways, it's okay. I mean, I wanted you to see that. I wish I could have showed that to you, but we didn't have time, James. I'm calling my brosif out. He was late, man.
I'm always late.
He was killing me. He's killing me. I was stressing. I was down there losing pounds in water, waiting at the door, waiting for him. I almost got mugged by a security guard, in fact. Came out here, questioned me and whatnot. But
that's pretty funny.
Let's hypothesize for a moment. Let's go into the rabbit hole and let's talk about this. Let's just assume that those are extraterrestrial craft. Okay?
Okay, well, what about this?
Are you show killing me? How about
this? Should be live. I'm sound biting, but it's not working.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just hypothesize. Let's say they are craft. Okay, what would their purpose be? I mean, there are some people saying, okay, they're guiding it, and it's going to be the global killer. They're going to guide it here to kill us or something. But let's think about some scientific ways, if in fact those are extraterrestrial craft. I mean, what would you think they'd be doing hovering around a comet?
Man, we could theorize on all the different options, especially in the conspiracy world, for days.
Right.
On what that could mean.
Right, but I'm talking about like in the scientific realm. I mean, mining? Could they be mining
that's
precious
very,
metals?
Very possible. There could be something on it that they can use.
Right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they're making intergalactic condoms with it. I don't know. Possibly
intergalactic prophylactic.
Wow. Sorry, I had to go there. Somebody should write a song.
Beastie Boys.
But okay, that was one of my theories, was they're mining, or there's some kind of precious metal, or maybe it has something to do with the water, because that's what comets mostly are. That's ladies and gentlemen, what you see trailing behind a comet is water. The sun or whatever star is nearest it that makes it actually have that glow. They don't glow on their own. They're actually shining from a star, and that's kind of burning the water off, and so you're seeing a large water vapor trail, and that's what makes them so easy for us to detect.
Well, not only that, but I mean, think about this. It could be a field trip for a bunch of kid aliens. We don't know. They could be, okay.
The Boy Scouts of...
They have the opportunity to actually fly next to one and see it as it's happening. We don't have that capability, so...
I like it.
It could just be a learning experience. We don't know.
Right.
Rather than just them actually taking from the object any type of element.
Yeah, it could be some kind of scientific, it could be like intergalactic trajectory. I mean, they could be guiding these things. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going for the global killer here or anything like that, but I mean, 3.1 miles across is pretty substantial. And if the craft are showing up as big as they are right next to them, then these are some big craft.
Right.
And when you look at them, they're definitely under some type of intelligent control. I mean, they're moving around this thing, and it's not like it's so big. 3.1 miles is substantial, but it's not like a satellite like our moon, for instance.
Is this the one that came down into Russia?
No, this is still out there.
Oh, this is still out there.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. This thing is still out there, and in fact, they say it's going to get so close. I didn't get a date when we'd be able to see this, but it's so close you could be able to see it with a telescope.
How do we know that this is actually a comet?
Because of the vapor trail. Okay. Asteroids don't do that. Meteorites have a vapor trail, but it's just hot metal coming off it. Iron burning off when it hits our atmosphere. So that's the only time you see a vapor trail behind like a meteorite, for instance.
What's the size of it compared to the craft?
Well, like I said, that's 3.1 miles across, and the crafts are like they got to be at least 1,000 feet in width. If they are cigar shaped in length, they're huge. I mean, huge. And they move fast. I mean, it's like every other footage you see when they're in atmosphere too, when they like Billy Meyer type footage, where it just kind of, they're moving around. But these do move quickly, but they're pretty controlled. It's kind of a controlled thing, and they seem to be just kind of rotating around this thing. And the weird thing is, if they were, say, space rocks or some other type of space debris that this comet just kind of it sucked it into its trajectory, they wouldn't move up, they wouldn't change directions.
Right.
You know what I mean? These are actually changing directions, and I don't know, man. It's pretty trippy. I strongly suggest you folks out there in listener land take a look at this footage. It's incredible. And other strange news. There's some strange noises being heard in Terrence, British Columbia, Canada. Now, I'm going to kind of just narrate, if you will, what I heard or what I read earlier on a particular website. Now this is from the witness himself. This is the second time I heard these sounds here in Terrence, British Columbia. First time was back on June 19th, 2013, but it wasn't this intense. So he heard this weird, strange noise. He didn't know what it was, and then he heard it again on the morning of August 29th of this year, just a few days ago, at 7:30 a.m. he was awoken. It was really similar sounds to what he heard before, but it was like super intense. It was super intense. He quickly got out of bed and grabbed his camera, which was an HD Samsung SC HMX 20C, which is that is that like a consumer grade camera?
Yeah, it's just a small handheld HD camera.
Okay.
Runs on a chip. It's not mini TV or anything like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a small, typical family to Disneyland camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's disappointing. Not that they got any. It's all audio, folks. That's pretty much what it comes down to. It's all about the audio. He didn't capture anything in the sky or anything like that. He's just kind of holding it outside so that people can hear it. And man, it's a weird noise. Now, before you guys hear this soundbite, I want to kind of tell you what to prepare for. What I told James about. There's the picture of that camera. Okay. What I told James earlier was, imagine you're in Paris and you're just kind of hanging out in Paris, and the Eiffel Tower decides to bend in half. This is the kind of sound you would probably hear. It just sounds like metal, just. It takes on almost like a guttural growl sound, but I'm not saying it's from a creature or anything like that, because I don't think it is. It's definitely mechanical in nature, but I don't know what it is. Now, those folks of you who don't know this, James and I are railroaders, and this sounds eerily similar to that. But he hasn't heard this yet either, but when he does, he'll that's the first thing he's going to think of, but then it's going to kind of fade because it's just different. Now, the only time you're going to hear noises like this in a railroad is if you derail, and it would have to be a nasty, nasty-ass derailment, and at that point, what happens? You stop.
Right.
You're not going to drag 20, 30 rail cars on the ground. It ain't going to happen.
Well, I mean, there's those times, but not like on their side or anything like that.
And this sounds hardcore. So, listener land, Rabbit Hole listeners, listen to this. This is a soundbite from the sounds that happened on the morning of August 29th at 7:30 a.m. in British Columbia and Terrence. So there it is. Dude, that is a trip.
But the sound, the main sound itself, very bizarre.
It is.
I see what you're saying. But can you hear it's very low, but it almost sounds in the background like click, clink, click, clink, click, clink, click, clink, like a train.
He mentioned that his son was pushing on the screen door and like tapping. That's the part I kind of left out, was he came out to the living room to find his 7-year-old son awake and very frightened, wondering what was going on. The boy said he too was awakened and that the noises shook his window.
Wow.
And he grabbed his camera, but he didn't immediately start filming. So if I know what you're saying, you're probably thinking his train wheels going over like joints in the rail.
Right.
I kind of was thinking that too, but he was saying that, there was his son was like kind of tapping on the screen. His son was just like out of his mind scared. But I mean, that is weird.
But for that, the main sound of it surrounding, some of it almost sounds like musical tones.
Right.
In a strange way.
Right.
But
and we've heard virtually every railroad noise imaginable.
Right.
We've heard them all of them, and that there.
I've never heard that.
Neither have I.
No.
Neither have I.
Out of 10 years, no.
Right.
Never heard that.
Right. I've never ever once heard that sound, and I don't know. Maybe it was they're on a grade, but this guy, that's another thing. He's lived here for a long time. He's only heard this noise twice. If he lives that close to railroad tracks, he's pretty used to it. That's like somebody saying, listening to airplane noise. They live right next to the airport, and they hear one that does some weird shit they can't explain, and it's so weird that they grab a camera to record the audio.
Can we play it one more time?
Can I play it one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us like 40 seconds of it.
That's bizarre. Which there's been a lot of this stuff lately, all over the world.
Right, in the Midwest too. Almost sounds like rain.
Yeah.
It does sound like rain. The wind's blowing pretty good on the video.
Maybe it's God pushing his chair away from the breakfast table.
And time is slower for him.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just bizarre. So anyway, there's that soundbite. That is a total trip, dude. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's a the one thing I would wonder about is it coming from a certain direction, or is it surrounding the entire
He said that
area?
it seemed like it was coming from everywhere at the same time.
Okay.
Which tells me he's almost at what I would call ground zero for it. You know what I mean? Because it didn't come from left or right. It would be directly above him, under him, around him, kind of a thing. But it sounds mechanical. It does. It sounds mechanical in nature. It doesn't sound like it's not like War of the Worlds, those big tripods going, doing that thing.
Right.
But it's kind of reminiscent of that. And again, he didn't see anything in the sky. So it's just a weird noise. Now, you touched up on the fact that there's been a lot of this type of stuff going on. And this has been going on for a very long time. Not this in particular, but weird noises, like people in the Midwest talking about hearing what appear to be like excavation sounds coming from deep under the earth.
Right. They actually, my wife has talked about that. Her family's been hearing it in Central America as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going on all over.
Wow. Yeah, now there are, I don't know, I mean, do we call them conspiracy theorists? I mean, I guess that kind of falls in that realm, doesn't it?
Well, I know a lot of people, especially in the conspiracy world, will go, that's HARP.
Right.
It's HARP.
It is in British Columbia, and they're not that far from, but, yeah, come on.
I just, I don't know. I'm not jumping on that HARP wagon to think that is what they're doing is going to create that kind of anomaly.
Right. Well, I'm not going to pretend to know everything about HARP because I don't.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
But that doesn't seem to fit their criteria, I guess, if you will. So I don't know. That what HARP does, my understanding is it bounces. It puts a penetrating wave into the ionosphere.
Mm-hmm. And bounces back.
And bounces back, and what it does is it creates like a heat shield almost, and it alters weather. It changes weather. It changes everything, atmospheric pressure and all that kind of stuff. Weather manipulation, I guess, is really what we're getting at, I guess.
Right.
So, but that's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So.
Well, and then it takes you back to think, well, okay, we hear those Revelation things in the Bible about the trumpets and these noises very reminiscent of horns.
Yes.
In a strange metallic,
right,
crippling
or like the
manner.
iron, right, or like the Iron Giant. Roar, it did.
Right.
It had kind of like a melodic sound to it. Not melodic, I guess that's probably not a very good word for it.
But we don't know the exact interpretation of what that means.
Exactly.
So
it's just food for thought. I wanted everyone to hear that because it's unexplainable. I don't get it. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take a little break. Thanks for listening to the Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back.
Sacrifice, go on, go back, holding on to foolish right. take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I showed you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
It's the question I've got.
You stay in Wonderland.
It's the question
And I showed you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I didn't say it would be easy.
Hello, we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole here at KouvRadio.com. Now, in all of my excitement, I did not give the phone number out. I got called out on it, and I'm glad. That's what producers are for. Nip you in the bud every once in a while. So basically, you need to call us at 360-977-5483, 360-977, live. Give us a call, and if you want to talk about some stuff, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's paranormal. I don't want to hear about your laundry.
Tell us what you think about these sounds, because I'm curious on other people's opinions of these things. And
Yeah. Well, speaking of those sounds, James dug up some stuff. I guess this is supposed to be pretty similar, but this was, where was this?
This one was September 2012 in Holland. So I'm going to play this, and it sounds pretty similar to what we just played.
All right.
It's a little bit fainter.
It even has that clickety-clack sound. Holy crap.
Seems like it's more distant, but...
Right. But it is eerily similar.
That little piece almost sounds like there's language.
Now, the footage you're watching, we're listening to this on, is he standing outside with the camera?
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
That would be eerie.
It's bizarre.
Dude, you know, I am so glad you found that, because I think that authenticates something, that there is some kind of weird audio anomaly going on, and it's not below the Earth. That's clearly above the Earth, but nobody's come up with an explanation for it. Any of you out there, have you ever heard anything like this? Give us a call, 360-977-5483, 360-977, live. We want to hear about it. That's an absolute trip.
Well, I mean, this is talked about on the news as well.
Was it an elaborate prank, the sound of aliens, or something else? Those were some of the suggestions heard today as many terrace residents awoke to a rather unearthly sound, which was heard around
This is
parts
the one
of the
from
city
earlier.
at around 7:30 this morning. The sound lasted for roughly 10 minutes and was recorded by many people. This recording was submitted to us by Kimberly Wookie.
Is that how all Canadians talk?
Similar sounds have been reported all over the world in recent years, including in Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States.
The big three? Interesting.
Well, nobody's been able to come up with an
Right.
answer.
Right, especially when you're getting mainstream media, which, you know, we're not big fans of, but sometimes they have to report the obvious, because that's where the public looks to. They look to public figures, they look to media, and it's like, tell us what happened, we're scared.
Well, you're not going to see that on American news. Most of the stuff that you can see that's less filtered is through other countries.
Right. And Canada being one of the front runners on disclosure for the UFO phenomenon and whatnot. Canada, France, Belgium, Even Russia is more transparent in the UFO phenomenon than America is, which is so weird because we are the hotbed of activity.
The crazy ones are like the Latins. Like you see Spanish stuff. I mean, they'll show bodies in the street, people
Right.
getting beat up. I mean,
No holds barred media
no
coverage.
censorship there.
No. This is what it's like.
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I've got another little piece here. This is pretty interesting. This can also be viewed on the internet, but August 3rd, 2013, and at Lake Titicaca. I just can't help but giggle when I say that name, but Lake Titicaca, Mexico, for those of you who aren't familiar now, this is a lake that is at 12,500 feet above sea level. I mean, it's up there on I think it borders Bolivia and Peru. And, I mean, this is a massive, massive, massive lake. It has 700 miles of shoreline, and it's pretty crazy. Now, Lake Titicaca, Mexico. You don't see the UFO. You don't see the UFO bare naked. Okay, so what you're seeing is it's under the water. There's something under the water. I'm not saying it's a UFO at this point because I don't have definitive proof for that. You see a large area of water in a perfect circle change to a lighter shade of blue. So the water all around it is really dark, but it gets kind of like a grayish color, you know? And the sighting was filmed by Italian tourists. After about 5 minutes of observation, the object moved from right to left. Now, it's moving so slowly it's almost imperceptible. You can't even really see it. It's just, they film it for a while, and you can see this boat that is at this dock, and these tourists are just like pointing out, they're smiling, and they're kind of tripping out, and then you just see it in the narrative. It says 5 minutes later, and you see the same thing, but it's like, it's moved, I would approximate it to be about 100 yards. It moved about 100 yards. It was crazy. So,
And this was below the water?
yeah, but you couldn't see anything metallic, but whatever it was perfectly circular. Now, there can be some natural explanations for this. These are my estimates, by the way. These are unofficial estimates, but the estimated size of the object or of the anomaly is about 300 to 400 feet across. It moved maybe 100 yards or so, like I said, from right to left. Now, there's a couple of things that can happen in nature that would simulate this. You know, a shoal of fish. You know, but that's in the ocean, of course. But in the ocean, you'll see sardines. You know, the shoals of sardines are miles long, and if they're avoiding predators, they ball up, and it's what they call a bait ball. And so when they're trying to evade predators, they'll just circle around, and the top of the water it'll kind of make that circular shape, you know, but not this perfect. And I don't know if they move that perfect as a whole. I mean, maybe they do. But so I did some other research, looking into like the native species of fish. There are only two native species of fish: the Orestius KouvRadio, which is 8 to 9 inches long, and the Trichomycetrius, which is kind of a catfish. So that's a bottom feeder. You're not going to see that.
How big was it?
Whoa. And that is not the only two types of fish there. There are other species of fish. There's brown trout, lake trout, and rainbow trout as well. But I don't think that they create shoals when they're avoiding predators in a perfect circle, 300 feet across. So, anyways, pretty interesting stuff.
Oh, that is interesting. I think there's so many anomalies out there. One of the ones that always fascinates me, too, is holes. Holes in the ground.
Oh, these sinkholes?
Well, not only the sinkholes, which are interesting because a lot of them are perfectly circular.
Right.
Not saying that.
Whoa.
Sorry, that was. Where is it? We're testing out new ground here at the Rabbit Hole.
Undiscovered country, if you will. And those of you on podcast, you can see our buddy here behind us. That's our alien rabbit. He's been with us a long time.
Yeah, and score. Yeah, I'd like to meet you. Yeah.
So, let's talk about the sinkholes, man.
Well, not necessarily just the sinkholes, but I mean it is interesting that they're circular. A lot of the bigger ones that we're seeing across the country, the big ones, not across our country, but in foreign countries,
right,
they're perfectly round. So is there some sort of frequency that's that's a circular pattern that's causing this?
Like sound that's kind of vibrating that area it's affecting, and it's just kind of dropping in on itself.
Right.
But in order to do that, you would have to have a void, right, underneath.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting too. But then it defies logic, as ufology usually does, and anything paranormal usually defies logic. You try to make sense of it, and next thing you know, you got 80 more questions.
Right.
I mean, why would some circular craft, let's just assume that's what it is, disc-shaped craft, why would it implode the Earth on itself? Crap.
Right.
We're trying to get out of here, but, I don't think they're that stupid. Maybe one of the things that we could do is get a geologist on here who can maybe explain these circumstances to us.
Yeah, let's look into that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I want to get some answers on the sinkhole phenomenon, because obviously it hasn't always been here, and if it has, it's been so sporadic that it doesn't make headline news. Now it's making headline news everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere.
Right, when you're seeing hotels half gone and
houses
sinking into when people are dying.
Right, that guy in Florida died.
Right.
And it's not just happening in Florida. It's happening in Illinois. It's happening in Missouri. It's happening virtually everywhere. I mean, and like you said, that's the weird part of it, is the fact that they're circular.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't it create a vertical rift or a lateral rift? Just a rift, you know what I mean? If the Earth moves, that kind of thing, tectonic plate shifts and stuff like that happen. Now, I get it, but it's always circular.
Right.
Varying sizes.
Well, and I remember thinking back to some of the talks that Philip Schneider did, and when he talked about how they did their boring to create the DUMBs, or the deep underground military bases.
Mm-hmm.
They would make 4 stovetop holes and then blow out that area. But how are they creating this hole effect? Is it a technology that is able to blast in perfect circular
without hearing a blast? Right. So the sound frequency theory that you came up with, I think, is pretty good. That's a sound theory. And the Philip Schneider thing, I brought him up I was on the Edge of Normal show here at KouvRadio.com with Kenny, and I brought up Philip Schneider, and you know what? I forgot about that. That's interesting.
Right, and that's how he basically, because he was a geologist who's an expert in his field.
World famous, yeah.
And he also worked on the light rail tunnels in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked on various military top secret underground bases. Dulce, and but that's how he explained how they would start doing the underground bases, was boring 4 stovetop holes and then blowing it out to create the opening.
Right. And of course these are pretty much showing up singular, but it doesn't mean that it's not the same thing. That may even tie into the whole underground tunneling stuff that you're hearing so much about.
Right.
People hearing vibrations under the earth, and it's not some of these are registering on, what is that? What is that thing the geologists use?
Are you talking about the earthquake meters?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact scientific name for them, but yeah, those things that monitor tectonic shifts and that kind of thing. These things are being picked up on that, but they can't explain them. The geologists can't. They're like, this is something different.
Right, and then that goes to if we're dealing with frequencies or some sort of anomaly that's actually coming underground, maybe that's these noises that people are hearing as well are resonating, outside.
Right.
To make that kind of impact sound-wise from underground into the air.
Right, and a lot of these places that all these communities are on bedrock.
Right.
They're sitting on solid rock. So we're talking massive frequencies or some type of
is this
activity that's vibrating everything.
Shift? Is this part of the shift of the axis? Is this part of the continents moving? Is this what we're hearing?
Right. Yeah, that whole polar shift thing scares the hell out of me.
I have some input.
Wayne's World! Wayne's World! Go ahead, Wayne.
Let's see if I can...
It is a gateway to hell.
Oh, boy.
Did you need that repeated?
No. That's pretty good, though. But, there's another theory, I've heard on other shows people talk about that, gateways to hell. Have you ever heard that footage? Wayne, see if you can find it. It's Sounds of Hell.
I have, from a hole.
What do you mean? You personally with your own ears?
No.
You've heard that,
right,
that soundbite.
I think it was
It is so friggin' eerie. What they, from my understanding, is they drop the microphone down this natural hole, and it goes down like miles, okay? There wasn't a person attached to it. They just dropped the microphone to see if they could hear something. Now, my understanding is it was a scientific study. They were just trying to see if they heard rumbling and stuff, and what they got was something altogether different.
Right.
It will send chills right up your spine.
Yeah.
So it's either really fake and somebody did a good job on it, or I don't know.
Well,
there's some kind of hellish monster community.
For sure, but
This is an actual discovery of sounds coming from hell in Siberia. Diggings. It's for you to decide.
All right, let's hear it.
So,
Here's the email. Dear Art Bell, I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging, the hearing of the sounds from hell is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos, so forth, on the paranormal, supernatural. He passed away fairly recently, but he would have loved your show. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. It took me a while to find it tonight, but attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. It's not the greatest quality, but the sounds are there.
If this guy will shut up, we'll actually hear it.
Very hesitant.
yeah, I'm ready to click on this other one.
As the sound bothers me to listen to.
He almost sounds like a mechanized voice.
Program,
Yeah.
warn listeners
Old
in
Art
advance.
Bell.
Almost
they
like
may
the
have
Canadian girl.
option of turning the radio
She ends
on
it like
for 30
this.
seconds while it plays. It has always haunted me.
Yeah,
Those who
I don't think that's his real voice.
Siberia sounds from
I
Hell
think this
Story.
is kind of like the robocaller thing that you
And I,
get.
for one,
It's a robo-reader.
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Dragon naturally speaking.
Rick, listening from Chicago. And so I submit now the cleaned, a better copy to you, and I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Sounds like a loop there.
Yeah, that's good. Now, there's a few different theories on this, too. We've all heard about, the reptilian race that lives underground, and that kind of thing. And, they abduct children, abduct people as food sources, laborers, and that kind of thing. And I don't know if I buy into all that. That's pretty far-fetched, even for me.
Well, you and I have been kind of discussing over the David Icke thing
Mhm.
a little bit, and I've been digging in on a lot of Icke material, and the thing is that aside from what Icke talks about,
Mhm.
there are plenty of eyewitness accounts of reptilian beings.
Right.
No different than the Greys,
Mhm.
which are some are supposedly a part of the reptilian race. You just a different version of them.
Right. That look kind of like our pal here, without the
Yeah.
ears.
Right.
That's your typical alien gray, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
You're on podcast.
That's the RabbitHoleism. Not the RabbitHole. Whatever.
But if you take into consideration that there are witnesses of these beings,
Mhm.
then you can, if you look into the research that Ike's done, he's really dug in on his homework. I mean, the guy's met with people all over the world.
Right.
He's written countless books.
I think 40 different countries.
And I mean, you don't put out that kind of material unless you do your research. And if we look back in history, and I can't say for sure that the Queen of England's a shape-shifting reptilian.
Well, or in the Bushes, and basically the people who have supposedly been in power over the general populace for the past 10,000 plus years.
And
same bloodlines.
And if we want to take it really deep, there's been pictures shown of different pictures of Bush Sr. that are different. His eye color is different in one image compared to another. So if these things are shape-shifters, they can take on the appearance of somebody if they want. So it may not actually be George Bush per se.
No.
And there's questions that come up all the time about the validity of Ike and his material.
Mm.
But if you put all the conspiracy theories in a jar, and you add in that element of the alien, the ancient alien theory, and the sinister beings controlling the population,
right,
who are controlling the Illuminati, who are
right,
a part of the Illuminati, that whole sinister conspiracy, some of it actually makes sense.
He makes a compelling argument. He does, and like you said, he did do his homework, and he can actually show the genealogy, and he can back that up. Now, as far as what I mean when he can back it up, I don't mean he can back up the fact that a reptilian race, extraterrestrial reptilian race is out there trying to, keep their tentacles in our world and everything we do. I'm not saying I buy fully into that. What I am saying is that he did genealogy on the very same people who are in power today, have pretty much, in one shape or another, been in power for the past 10,000 plus years.
Right.
Now, folks, I am not making this up. This is real. He really did. Person by person by person by person, he did. Painstaking hours and hours and years and years and years of research on this, and it backs up.
The interesting case too is looking back, and my understanding is if you go to Hitler, his bloodline relates to the Rothschilds.
Right. So does Prescott Bush's.
So what does this mean? When you can trace a certain bloodline back to its origin, and all these people in power, all their doings over the past have been so similar.
It's a mosaic. It's a giant mosaic, and you have all these little pictures that mean nothing, but when you stand back
you start
a few
putting
yards,
the puzzle
it's like,
together.
oh, it's the Mona Lisa.
Right.
I don't know, folks. I don't know. I really am on the fence. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm an absolute believer in the phenomenon. I wouldn't be here doing this. So James and I, we've spent so many years researching all this stuff we're bringing to you here on the Rabbit Hole. And, painstaking, torturous hours, if you will. I believe in stuff, but I don't know. Maybe David Icke takes it to a level I can't quite wrap my mind around. That's possible. It is possible. But it's just, when I see YouTube, George W. Bush's eyes have vertical slits, I know it's compelling, but dude, you could do that to my eyes right now. You could. Well, not right now, but you know what I mean? If you could take video of me, and you can make it look like my eyes glow red. It doesn't mean my eyes are glowing red.
Right. But it's a pretty compelling video. I get chills looking at it. It's creepy.
There's one of Hillary Clinton doing it too.
Well, I know.
They're
a dime a dozen. Especially the ones that look like there's distortion.
Right.
The funny ones. This is funny. You see the newscasters talking, all of a sudden they hiss it.
Right. Yeah, they're because people are joking about it, basically. Right. You'll see some big lizard tongue go, and it goes back in their mouth. It's like, oh, come on.
It gets to a corny point where every newscaster in news is a reptilian shapeshifter.
Right.
I don't buy that.
Right.
But yeah, I see the
The bloodlines and genealogy.
Bloodlines and the heads of power, and
that's real.
It is real.
That's real. Really, that is real. Again, I've spent so many hours looking into this stuff because a part of me wants to believe David Icke. Part of me wants to believe because what are we here for in the RabbitHole? We're here to, relentless pursuit of the truth. That's what we want.
Right. And which brings it back to our own experiences. I don't think you and I don't know about you personally, but I don't think for myself, I'm not doing this show to try to convince anybody of anything, whether they believe of my own experiences. I mean, a lot of people's experiences are very personal and separate from other people's. So that's a part of this phenomena that doesn't get discussed that much, is the individuality of each experience.
Well, that's because of the reluctance to share those experiences with people, especially people you love and care about deeply. You don't really want to talk about it because you don't want to be looked at like a kook or a nut, because that's what we've been trained to feel when someone approaches you with a story like what we can tell.
Right.
Stories that you and I have shared together with visible scars, triangular scars.
Well,
Stuff, weird stuff, that you can't really be explained.
And it's fascinating, too, is that think of all the untold stories. Most of the ones that people are aware of are the ones that get repeated in the mainstream media over and over and over again.
It's a constant regurgitation of the same.
And that's all you get from it. So, and some of them are so amazing or embellished, if you will, that I think that's what loses people sometimes on a mainstream forum.
Okay. Well, people, if you have a story you want to share with us, call us at 360-977-5483. 360-977-LIVE. Share your story with us.
Give us a call.
Wayne, what did you just discover?
I put my personal cell phone number up on the call line.
Awesome.
On the broadcast.
Well, if we get as many callers as we've been getting, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, right? I get calls in the middle of the night usually anyway, but... Oh, that's funny.
So, all this stuff, it's like what James says. We're not trying to convince you one way or the other. You're going to make up your own mind. You're going to draw your own conclusions and opinions, and that's what we want. If nothing else, listen to the show as food for thought. It's thought-provoking, it's thought-inducing, and you can just kind of cut through the BS. We do. I mean, I don't believe in every single thing I see on the internet, but I can definitely believe what I have seen with my own eyes and what I have experienced.
Right, and if you can take bits and pieces of the conspiracies, the strange things that go on, our world is a pretty amazing place.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just some of the stories that we don't know about. That's what I want to dig in on.
Right.
You and I had talked about not so much wanting to bring on the big stars in the field, but bringing on the small person, the person that doesn't get talked to very much, because some of those are the best stories.
Exactly. And they're they're authentic in nature just because of the fact that the reluctance is there, and nobody knows about them, and they're not trying to sell a book. They're not trying to say, "Oh, I got a television program coming up," So, also, I just want to bring this up that if you went to Facebook, deepintotherabbithole.com, I put a post up there saying that we were going to have a special guest in, but Lauren has lost a member of his family, and there's been a death in the family, so he wasn't able to make it tonight. So we'll get him on another time, probably, but also, I want to say, those of you who are familiar with the author and researcher Philip Mantle has agreed to come on to the show. He just got to check with his schedule, and we'll see when we can get him on. This guy is incredible, hardcore researcher. Basically, what I like about him so much is that he was instrumental in debunking the alien autopsy footage that we saw in 1995. The classic Roswell alien autopsy thing. I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Even back then, I wanted to believe it was real. It was so convincing and so well done. But he really dug into it, and he has names. And he also just recently came out with a book, so maybe we'll share some information on that with him. He's a good guest. In fact, he was just on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie just last week. So it'll be a real honor and privilege to have him on here at KouvRadio.com on the Rabbit Hole.
I always thought that my theory of the alien autopsy video wasn't the fact that it was the genuine thing,
Right.
but it was something made to resemble actual footage of it or something. That's what I
It's a
thought.
reenactment.
Right, almost like a reenactment, just to kind of spoon feed.
That's what you thought originally
Right,
when you were saying it? Okay.
I thought originally.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to find out the motive behind. I mean, obviously there's money involved when you put out something like that.
Oh,
You can
absolutely.
sell-
And the guy sat on it for 2 years, too. I mean, Philip Manimal was made aware of this footage in 1992. It wasn't released until 1995. And he had a private screening of it in London with a bunch of other headshed guys in the UFO community and some military personnel, believe it or not. They were all kind of scratching their heads, and they didn't know what to think either. They're like,
Right.
"What's that real? I mean, what?" Because they even used phones from medical carts, the beds, the garb,
I believe that the film was even old Kodak film that they used.
yeah,
Is that
to add to the
correct?
authenticity. Yeah. I don't think there was a whole lot of CG going on to make it look older, But yeah, they used an old authentic camera. I don't know what it would have been back then, but it was like one step above silent film type stuff, And it was a silent film. But interesting nonetheless. Again, that was food for thought, but it was debunked. So that, to me, adds to the authenticity of this guest, Philip Manimal, that we're going to have on. And he is not afraid of debunking stuff. So I like that.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of. I'd rather you prove something, prove that it's not what it is.
Then just take it at face value.
And take it at face value, so we can move on and find out what is actually going on.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. Well, folks, we're going to take another little break here, and then we'll probably spend another 15 minutes with you or so, and we'll wrap this thing up. You are listening to the Rabbit Hole. Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole, ladies and gentlemen. KouvRadio.com, the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
So we're discussing some interesting things tonight. We've given you plenty to think about. But James wants to make a special request.
Nellie, if you are out there, call 360-977-5483.
Yeah, you got some questions to answer, young lady?
That's right.
Well, the audience would love to hear it. You know, it's such an interesting story.
Yeah, this is my wife, and she has tons of interesting things to tell.
Right, and it's multi-generational. So
yes.
it's that right there. And you know what? I wonder how many people out there where it is multi-generational and they don't even realize it because nobody wants to talk about it.
Or they're unaware.
Yeah, right. For whatever reason, some people become self-aware on that kind of a thing. The abduction phenomenon, which I fully 100% believe in. Again, I have a metallic anomaly in my left leg that has shown up on X-ray and MRI, and it's shown up in 2 different places. So, if I had, let's just say I hurt myself as a kid and I had a piece of metal in my knee, I think I'd be aware of that. I think I'd remember, it must be from that time when, I got shucked with a homemade spear, or I've never hurt my knee as I've hurt my knees, believe me, lifetime martial artist, my knees are screwed, but I've never had anything puncture my knee and hurt me that I can think of, at all.
Here's the thing, is that all the times that I've hurt myself enough to cause a scar or damage, I remember every one of them.
Exactly. That's natural. That's human nature right there.
Right.
You can account for it. It's like, oh yeah, that's when I blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I cannot account for this at all. And not only that, I can't account for it moving as far as it has. We're talking inches. I would get some kind of knee pain. I'd get some kind of residual pain. There's something sharp in there, Doc. I need it taken out. Let's do something about this. How does metal move around inside your knee and your left leg not draw your attention?
Which we'll get a radio frequency meter in here, and let's do that on air.
I'd like to get Dr. Roger Lear in on this.
Let's do it.
He's a friend of mine, on the Facebook thing. I'd love to get him in. This guy is the absolute authority. This guy was a surgeon. He's retired now, but he maintains his medical license so he can remove these objects from people, these anomalies, and metallic anomalies. And like James just hinted at, a lot of these actually transmit radio frequency.
Right.
They're not picking it up because it's metal, like a conductor. It's emitting its own frequency.
Right.
And some of them have been found to have elements that do not show up on our periodic chart of the elements.
Right. Which some of them have our own type of metal.
Well, sure. It's space. There's going to be iron. There's going to be, stuff like that. That calcium, I would imagine, is abundant in the universe.
And which brings, another thing. Just because it has a type of metal that can be found here doesn't make it genuine.
Right.
Too many people say, well, it's got copper or aluminum, or it's got, stuff that can be found here. So there's nothing out of the ordinary with it. Here,
I'm going to give you guys the great equalizer, and this is what it is. It is your body's job to push out a foreign body. You will get swelling, you'll get pus, and all the other nasty, oozy stuff that happens when you have a metallic anomaly stuck in you. Now, in most of these circumstances, what we're seeing, and this is medically documented, we are seeing metallic anomalies that they get like a cocoon around them. It's like the body protects the foreign object.
Well, there is actual...
That defies biology.
If you see some of the marks on people as evidence, they could be taking skin samples, adhering it to the object so the body doesn't reject it.
Sure. Right. Now, that's not just a couple of goofballs 2 floors underground in a building telling you this. These are the words of surgeon Dr. Roger Lear. He, we're not medical professionals, but he certainly is. I mean, this guy was a practicing surgeon for 40 years. 40.
I've put on Band-Aids.
Right. I've gotten pretty good with the peroxide. So, that's food for thought also. We're definitely going to go after him and try to get him on. As a caller, I doubt we're going to be able to get him in here. He's getting up there, man.
Well, and some of the events that in the UFO communities put on, that he attends, he will actually bring a full-on body scanner, and you can do this free of charge to scan your body to see if there is any objects. If you have that deep question or something nudging at you saying, I've had some weird things happen to me.
Have you gone through an airport scanner yet?
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
They don't say it. They don't.
Yeah, this thing it's really, really small, and typically they are like 2
like
or 3 centimeters. I mean, I don't think even metal buttons on your pants
or whatever.
will make it go off. I mean, they'll see it on the full body X-ray thing. They'll see that. But
and stainless doesn't usually do it either, but they could see it. So.
And in other instances, they'll take these things out. They'll emit a radio frequency and disintegrate soon after.
Right.
Which
like if they're out of the body.
Yes, they'll disintegrate, just absolutely disintegrate to a point where they can barely even do an analysis on it and get any trace elements out of it. It like just self-degrades to dust. In fact, Dr. Roger Lear has a video. I believe it's on YouTube, folks. Look him up, Dr. Roger Lear, alien implant stuff. He has one that does it before your eyes. You can watch it disintegrate.
Right.
He touches it. He takes it out, and it's whole. I mean, he's able to extract it out of this patient. And he puts it on this little piece of gauze, and it disintegrates.
Yeah. It like cracks and.
Right. He tries to touch it again after it's been out of the body, and it just goes. I mean, it's done. So it's like, well, that's weird. It sure was solid inside the body, where you think it'd be the opposite. It would be inside something moist and wet, the body, and then it would disintegrate in there. But it comes out into the dry, and then it disintegrates. I don't know, man. Kind of weird. Kind of weird to me. So, anyways, I think we're going to wrap her up here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks a lot for tuning in and listening to the Rabbit Hole. We really appreciate you. And spread the word. Tell folks, and make sure you give us a call. I'm going to give that number out again. Those of you, get out your pen and paper. We're waiting. Pen and paper. 360-977-5483. 360-977-LIVE. Give us a call. Tell us your story, and we'll give you an awesome platform here. This is a judgment-free zone, and we're on board with you. Any parting comments, my man?
No, I think that the important thing is keep your eyes up to the skies lately. There's been a lot of activity, and just, maybe it's time for a lot of people to start taking notice.
Right. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, from the Rabbit Hole, KouvRadio.com, I'm John Fogel with my bro James Sweet, and we will see you next Sunday. And keep your eye in the sky, your ear to the ground, and don't stop believing. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
We're out.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland.
Question that brought me.
And I showed you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
It's the question that brought me.
You stay in Wonderland.
It's the question
And
that
I
brought
showed
me.
you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I didn't say it would be easy.
It's the question that brought me.
Working till the dawn. Hear the fall tears till she leaves you on. Under mirror cracking overhead. Dirty sheets and rusted creaking bed.
Hey, baby. Don't make me shove this thing up your butt.